Hope for Survival YouTube. Thanks for tuning in. And a happy new year to you, almost. Just a few more hours and the clock will be rolling over to begin 2025. But in order to get there, there's some preparations that we all must consider in one fashion or another putting into place. There is a cold front blowing in that if you haven't heard about it by now, I'm not sure what you're tuning into, but there is a Arctic Blast that is going to hit much of the United States, 30 states or so. And this Arctic Blast could have a duration of 7 to 10 days in subarctic temperatures. This means it's not business as usual. And we have these type of deep freezes, the impact that it has, not just on the population with freezing weather, icing weather, and all the impacts that comes along with that. Freezing pipes, busted pipes, water freezing all over the roads, making any kind of travel almost impossible. But the big thing here is prolonged Arctic temperatures that are outside of the norm of what a state is prepared for in the infrastructure could have great ramifications on the population. And there is federal policy that when the demand on the grid is overly taxing, as we witnessed in Texas a few years ago when the grid just could not handle the demand, and then as witnessed, the people couldn't handle the demand either. So if you have 25 to 30 states, and how the grid works is states borrow power from one another, and much of this is pushed to the larger cities. So if the grid starts going down and there's power outages and a high demand by critical infrastructure, it is very possible that utilities will be terminated for a period of time or a prolonged time in the rural and suburbia areas. And where does that leave you? So something that you seriously need to be planning for pronto is how will you sustain freezing temperatures in your home if you don't have any ability to heat your home, to keep your pipes warm from busting, from freezing up and busting, any animals that you may have outside. How are you going to keep them from freezing? How are you going to keep their water source from freezing? And so forth. So these are all things, if you have not thought about, that you need to plan for. This also includes not just if you're home, you may be at work and you have to get home. In the subarctic temperatures, some are saying as low as negative 20 degrees, and in some locations it could drop even further with high winds. There may be some snow and ice at the beginning of this storm in certain regions. So some things you need to know about your home is, depending on how you get your water, where is your water source coming from the provider onto your property? If you need to turn that water off in the event of an emergency, do you know where to go and how to turn that water source off to keep your lines from freezing and busting, and then causing an additional problem for you, flooding of your home. So you need to figure that out quickly. Another source is if you have public utilities, if you heat by electricity, if the grid goes down or the electricity goes out, how are you going to provide heat to keep from freezing for a duration of 72, 96 hours or longer? What plans do you have in place to provide heat to keep you from freezing, but also, if need be, if you're on a single level, say a modular type home, mobile home, how are you going to keep the pipes underneath your home from freezing? Or if you're in a 2-level home with a basement, your pipes are under your main floor, do you have a way to heat that basement area to keep your pipes from freezing? You may have a backup source of power for heat, uh, natural gas, wood burner, and things of that nature. But in the event you don't, what are you going to use as a heat source? You're going to have something to help keep you warm. Some folks have small buddy heaters. Buddy heaters are great for a period of time. They don't heat large spaces. And if you're using, say, a 1 pound propane cylinder, you're going to get a couple hours at most out of running that heater. One thing that you can do, you can buy for about 30 or 35 bucks, you can buy these connector hoses, kits that you can connect to a buddy heater and run a 20 pound cylinder of propane that'll get you a prolonged period of heat in there. But again, these are not intended to heat your whole home. All right, you may have to make a decision if the temperatures plummet and it's prolonged to pick a room that you're going to try to heat and stay warm in. Okay, there's kerosene heaters, there's other types of heaters, but please make sure you know the safety steps on these devices, and don't create another problem or a fire using these devices. If you don't have any type of a heat source, some things you can go Google on YouTube, I should say, but learn how to use some form of a tent and set the tent up on your bed to get it off the floor. The bed will provide insulation under you, and being inside the tent with blankets on you will help keep your body heat inside the tent and keep you from freezing. Another source that you can use, you can get roughly a quart size empty clean paint can, and you can put a roll of toilet paper in it and a 91% alcohol, fill it up, and you can light it and have it on a table, and it will also provide you some heat. And they're safe as long as you don't knock it around and knock it over. So you can look it up on the internet, but you need to do it now, and you need to be figuring out how you are going to stay warm, keep your family warm, keep your animals warm. Be ready to go at this if maybe 7 to 10 days, and even if the temperatures start to warm up, if there is damage to the grid, you could have a prolonged grid down situation. Remember, I told you in book 1 and chapter 1, you don't matter. It's not personal, all right? But it's critical for towns and cities to keep critical infrastructure running: hospitals, jails, communications, utilities to the best that they can. But when you have these sub-Arctic negative temperatures, most folks will ignore the impact that it has on the grid, and they'll crank the heat systems in their homes as high as they can go to try to keep their homes warm, without realizing how it's taxing the overall grid, and potentially crashing it. All right. And once it goes down, it's going to be down for a bit. So you got to ask yourself, if this happens, how are you going to survive? Okay. Something, if you're out and about, you're walking from point A to point B on your property. If you're in a vehicle and something happens and you have to get out and walk, something that you should have on you, keep with you, is you need to have some form of a survival blanket. And you may look at these and think, well, gee, they're really thin, they'll never keep me warm. Well, the reality is, once you wrap up in these mylar blankets, they will retain your body heat. Okay, it will keep you dry and it'll keep you from freezing. All right, so you want to make sure you have these on you, have a whistle on you, and also have a tourniquet, and if possible an IFAC first aid kit. All right, so you need to think about ways to cook. How are you going to cook if you have no utilities, and get water without electricity? If you have a well, you want to make sure you dress in layers. You want to stay dry the best that you can. Don't get wet. So dress in layers. Make sure you have vehicle kits if you're traveling. Have food and water in your vehicle. Don't plan on that you're going to take the next exit and grab something to eat. All right. If the grid is taxed and they start cutting power, or the grid goes down, you're not going to have any of these niceties available to you. You're going to be totally dependent upon yourself to take care of you and your family. Fuel, you're going to need extra fuel to run vehicles, fuel to run generators if you have a fuel generator. Make sure you have cash. Make sure you have enough cash to survive 10 days to 2 weeks. Okay? Cash is king. And if the grid goes down, cards won't work, and you're going to need cash to buy things, if there's even anything available to you. All right. Animals, again, make sure your animals have plenty of food. Having food available to eat helps create body heat. So food and water, and make sure the water doesn't freeze. Try to not get separated from, especially if it's windy and snowy. Make sure you don't get separated from your vehicle if you're out and about. Have a survival kit in your vehicle to keep you and your family warm and plenty to eat. Make sure you have multiple plans to heat a room or an area, which I mentioned previously. You may have to go to a single room. You may have to put up plastic, cover windows, cover doorways, use the like shower curtain rods across doorways, hang blankets off of them. Whatever you can do to block the cold out and to retain heat inside. Medical needs. If you have anyone in your family that has medical needs, make sure you have plenty of medicine, and make sure that you know of someone that lives close to you, that if you can't get to a hospital or hospitals aren't available, that you can contact to come help you with the medical needs for yourself or for your loved one. So there's no reason to panic. You just need to be smart and do proper planning. That's what it's all about. We talk about it in preparedness all the time, building your self-sustainable insurance policy to be self-reliant. If all the comms go down, which there is a chance, if the grid goes down, cell phones and services will last about 4 hours till they're battery backup goes dead, and then you won't have any communications and things of that nature. One of the things that many of us has is some form of a um, satellite communication device, Starlink, something of that nature. This here is a bivy stick. I can connect to a satellite, and I can send text messages and emails out in an emergency, or I can send an SOS with a pin on a map to someone to show where I'm at. You may be in a vehicle, and you may be in an area where there's no cell service, or if the towers goes down, if you go off the road and over an embankment, you may be trapped in your vehicle, that you can't call out, and no one may know where you're at or where you went off the road at. That is why having a whistle is important, and also having access to a tourniquet, a first aid kit, and also within your reach, um, some type of a bug out bag or a ready bag, um, that has some water and some form of food, energy bars, and your mylar blanket to keep you from freezing until you can get rescued. So the list is long. There's many things that you need to think about. All of our situations are a bit different, but then again, a lot of it's back to the basics, on things that we need to have, know how to use them, and be prepared to not panic, but be a leader and step out and do what you have to do. If you're going to be at home over the next few days, um, now would be a good time to grab your extra propane tanks for your grill, go get them topped off, or go replace them. Have extra propane available for cooking, or for your buddy heater. Uh, Remember, one is none, two is one, and three is better. If the first plan fails, what's your backup, and what's the backup to that? Because something will fail. And then it's going to be up to you to not panic, and up to you to take those steps, to step out and either save your family, save yourself, and possibly help save your community. So check on your neighbors. Make sure your elderly neighbors around you, make sure they're prepared and they're okay. Worst case is, if they're not, you may have to bring them into your home to help them get through this period, which means, again, like we talk about in preparedness, it's more mouths to feed. It is a good deed, but it's a decision you're going to have to make. So um, stay safe out there. Be vigilant to things going on around you. We do have an Arctic freeze coming, but we're also coming up on New Year's. There's a lot of turmoil going on in our country right now with the results of the election. New Year's Eve's coming up, the potential for events, criminal type events, terrorist attacks, things of that nature as well. There's just so many things that are on the plate right now that we have to be vigilant of, but most of all, focus on your own life safety and keeping yourself and your family safe. You know how to do it. You should have the resources to do it, and if you don't, you still have about 24 36 hours to procure them the best that you can, or if you need help, ask someone to help you with it. Okay? So again, Happy New Year. 2025 is upon us. It's a new year, and I do believe there are going to be a lot of hurdles, not just man-made, but natural as well. If you've been paying attention, these Arctic blasts have actually been predicted for a period of time. Conditions globally are changing. There's food shortages. There's expanding wars that are happening in the Middle East. So just count your blessings, stay where it's warm. You don't have to be out unless you have to, and stay safe out there. And we'll see you in 2025. Thanks for your support to Hope for Survival. And don't forget to give thanks, and most of all, count your blessings. Bravo Echo out.